So, looking more now at time management. Have you ever wondered how it is that some people seem to have enough time to do everything they need to do and want to do, whilst others are constantly struggling and never have enough hours in a day? One of the most interesting places to see the effect of our behavioural preferences in our lives is by observing how we manage time. So what I want you to do here is just take a look at the statements on your screen and reflect on whether you agree or disagree with them. Okay, so if I just kind of go through those, the first one then is indicative of our blue behavioural preference. If you recall, people with a higher blue preference like structure and order, and they like to follow a process. So they like to have those to-do lists. But if you're not a blue preference, I had a colleague once who said that she used to work for a manager, and this manager was very blue and insisted that daily to-do lists were the way forward. Everybody needed a to-do list. And the manager asked everybody at the end of the day before they left if they would hand in their to-do list for the day. My colleague found that really, because she was a very high yellow preference, and she found that really restrictive and actually quite stressful. So what she used to do was just do whatever she did during the day, and at the end of the day she wrote a to-do list and ticked it all off just to hand in, just to keep the boss happy. So to-do lists, very good, preferred and liked by an awful lot of people who have a higher blue preference. But not all blue preference people would use a to-do list, but it's one of the things indicative of a more blue preference. A full diary, both at work and socially, that's more an indicator of somebody who has a more of an extroversion preference. They like to be busy and involved, drawing that energy in from the external world. The bliss of sitting and dreaming and really just being able to think things through. Again, indicative more of perhaps the yellow preference, because the yellows like to be able to let their mind wander and look at all the possibilities and opportunities. They like to deal in ideas and concepts and be able to visualise and kind of dream. So quite often we sometimes see a ray of sunshine of yellow sitting at the workstation perhaps, and they just seem to be staring into space. And we sometimes think, well, obviously they don't have a lot to do, they're not that busy if they can just sit and stare into space, and I'm kind of running around, racing around, trying to tick all the things off my to-do list. In actual fact, as I say, this is a moment when somebody with a yellow preference may be doing some of their best creative problem solving and thinking. It's quicker and more efficient and effective to talk to people. Indicative of the red, all about getting that desired outcome as quickly and efficiently as possible. However, it doesn't mean to say they will always talk to somebody. If the person isn't immediately available to talk to, they may well send an email, because then they can deal with it there and then in the moment. It's away. It's in somebody else's court now to respond. When faced with a new challenge, worry rather than doing. A green indicative preference there. They like the known, they like familiarity, they like to know what they're doing, because the reason behind that is they want to please people, they want to help people, so they like to actually know what's going on and actually feel comfortable in doing that. So they don't particularly like new challenges that are just kind of thrown at them. They tend to worry about them and fret about them a little bit, more so than some of the other preferences do. So again, by spending time reflecting on our behaviours or observing how other people act and behave, it can be really insightful about our own and other people's behavioural preferences. So if we look at how this knowledge can help us at work, I'll share a situation with you where I was asked to help a manager who was really struggling getting any work done. And after speaking to them for a short time, the cause of their poor time management became very clear. They had a very strong green behavioural preference and a very low preference for red or blue. And much of their work involved scheduling, monitoring, reporting, which they found really frustrating and got little or no satisfaction from it. In effect, they were being asked to write with the wrong hand for prolonged periods of time. Not only was their behaviour frustrating to them, the manager himself, but it was also frustrating and confusing for other people who couldn't understand why they were always behind schedule, why they couldn't keep on top of their workload, because other managers appeared to manage just fine. In fact, the manager was a gifted listener who was able to have great empathy for the people and show compassion and support when they were struggling or having a hard time. And much of their time was spent with the people helping, supporting them, which then that wasn't actually helped further, because the fact is they didn't like cutting people off. So once people started talking, they didn't want to hurt their feelings by actually trying to wrap the conversation up. So they spent an awful lot of time talking with their people. So the manager's problem was not so much with time, but with the alignment between their behavioural preferences and the design and expectations of the role. Now, this is a typical issue that we see, and often we see it when a team member who is really well liked, does a great job as a team member, gets promoted to team leader, manager, and little consideration is actually given to the alignment of their preferences and the expectations of the role. And without that correct consideration and support, the team member can very quickly feel out of the depths and frustrated, and stress can start to set in. The worst case scenario, it can actually lead to a very talented team member leaving the business completely. Now, in the instance I spoke about with the manager that I was working with, the solution that actually came there was that the manager was supported by another manager who had a high blue preference and was very comfortable doing the scheduling and monitoring, but they really struggled to do the green behaviours. They found it really quite difficult and frustrating being empathetic and compassionate towards their team, actually just showing the team members how much they were appreciated and valued. Now more than ever, we know that psychological safety in many organisations is at an all-time low following the last 12 months. And we know the importance of managers being empathetic and compassionate. So the green behavioural preferences are much needed talents within our workplaces in 2021 and beyond.